and blue Hawaii. The night is heavenly, and you are
He's got a shirt on, too.
Dr. Teitelbaum, you just got a glimpse of him. And I want you to turn around and look at that monitor because we're trying to make you homesick. He's going to be leaving today for his home. We've done 6 programs with Dr. Teitelbaum. And take a look at this monitor.
Kona. How gorgeous is that? And look at the black sand. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. I was there and I actually took some of the black sand and put it in a little baggie.
Yeah.
So good to have you back, buddy.
Yes.
Always a pleasure.
What an honor. This is, let's see, 2, 4, this is the fifth show.
Fifth and sixth.
And we're going to have another one after this one. So we're going to promise to keep our clothes on. We're not going to change for the next one. This is part 1 and part 2 of this
Thank you. Yes,
series.
we are.
And
Gotta keep our clothes on.
That's right.
Definitely.
Today we're going to be talking about something that is very close to us.
Well, there's so many people
Yes.
that have chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. It's unbelievable. It's like an epidemic.
And in case the people didn't watch part 1, part 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe this is the last one they watched, or they cued in on this one because we have a different audience, seems like, whenever we show it, because it's satellite and all over the country. Tell your story, because you understand this better than anyone.
Well, people ask, they say, you're a doctor, how do you know about fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome? And, well, I learned about it the old-fashioned way. Back in medical school, I came down with what I call the drop-dead flu, and weeks later, still was not able to function. Months later, still couldn't function. And I had to drop out of medical school. They knew it was a virus, they couldn't identify it, and then they figured, well, he's not better, must be depressed medical student syndrome, as they say. But since I was paying my own way through school, my dad had died a couple years earlier, that meant no work study, no scholarship, no loan. I was homeless, sleeping in parks. And that's where I learned how to recover from chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. It was like God put a homeless medical school, holistic medical school sign on my park bench. And naturopaths came by, herbalists came by, all kinds of people doing natural healing techniques. And they taught me piece by piece until I was able to recover, able to go back to medical school a year later, did very well, and have spent basically since 1975 exploring this disease, researching it, writing about it, and teaching thousands and thousands of people how to get their lives back.
Okay, what is the trigger point?
I want to just ask one more question.
All right, go ahead.
When you said I couldn't function, what do you mean by that?
You couldn't function.
My brain wasn't working.
Your brain wasn't
My energy
working.
was way down. I had all these tight muscles, but they put me in a lab where they put med students to recover from being sick, and all we had to do was take a little pipette and put little drops in each of the microbiology wells, and I'd get them all contaminated. I couldn't function.
So something was causing this to happen to you.
Well, the virus. I had
virus.
what
So
I call the
it-
drop-dead flu.
It affects
That
the
triggered-
brain?
It affects brain fog because it makes the brain foggy. So difficulty, you'll find if you have brain fog, short-term memory, gone. Difficulty with word finding and substitution, so you might use the word fork for knife. Have to think when you're talking about the kids, what's their name? And if she accidentally calls you George instead of Herman, that's not a Freudian slip, that's brain fog in this disease. People substitute words. And so the brain fog gets pretty marked. And often people who are very sharp, they get to the bottom of a page, they can't remember what was on the top when they're reading something.
What is the trigger point? I mean, because you would know. What triggers this symptom?
Chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia overall represent an energy crisis where you spend more energy than you're able to make, whether it's because a virus overdraws your energy account, whether it's because of poor nutrition, hormonal problems, sleep problems, autoimmune problems. Anything that causes you to spend more energy than you can make will essentially blow a fuse.
Now, I have autoimmune problems, but I have those same brain function problems at times that you're talking about. So when you're saying that, I'm thinking, So that happens with autoimmune too then?
Lupus, for example, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's, MS, these are common triggers for secondary fibromyalgia. The way you tell whether there's also fibromyalgia is, do you ache all over? And the key question is, do you have trouble sleeping? People with straight autoimmune diseases usually won't cause that much sleep disorder. But if you have exhaustion, widespread pain, and can't sleep, you've got a secondary fibromyalgia. And if they're not treating that in addition, the people aren't going to get well because they're treating the wrong thing. They keep throwing steroids and methotrexate or other things that these autoimmune diseases, where the treatment for it is what we'll talk about today, which is shine when you have the fibromyalgia component. So you got to treat both of them. And we'll talk about how to restore energy production and turn that circuit breaker back on.
And energy is so important because, you know, when I start out with something, I got all this energy and everything, about 20 minutes, half an hour later, it's all gone, you know, which just absolutely shocks me because I've always been a goer and a doer.
Well, we're going to teach you how to get your energy back today.
Okay, good.
And how to make
Can't
pain
wait.
go away. And how to get your brain back.
Okay, now, it's not that you can just put up with this until it's over. You have to assist it being over?
Well, it's like blowing a fuse. If you wait for the circuit breaker to turn back on, it's going to be a long wait.
Good point.
But if you just go and click the circuit breaker back on, now if you have the thing that blew it still there, you turn it back on, the circuit breaker is just going to blow again. So sometimes you have to get rid of what blew the fuse. That can be a toxic exposure, it can be a toxic chemical exposure, toxic spouse exposure, thyroid issues, adrenal issues, inflammation. There's a host of things.
So one size doesn't fit all.
One size doesn't fit all. But we're going to teach people today how to tell what they need to do. And we'll give a simple way, even people with no money can figure out what's causing the disease and what they need to do to get well.
Wow. Well, get started. I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you on this because you can't believe, I mean, there's people in our family, our
People we work with.
Our assistant, got to get her well. I got lots of things. But so, I mean, it's really close to us. And like she says, she has had some of the symptoms, some of the ones that you just talked about.
And it's close to everywhere. Like you said, it's an epidemic. It used to be very uncommon. People like Florence Nightingale had it, or Nobel of Nobel Prize fame had it.
Wow.
It was these people who were blowing fuses from that kind of level.
And you're very intelligent, so it must be intelligent people.
And good looking, right? No.
Yeah,
It can hit anybody. The stress of modern life has been overwhelming for a lot of folks, and it's starting to catch up. So whether it's because poor nutrition, poor sleep, the 85,000 chemicals in the environment, the immune issues. There's a host of things that are causing a perfect storm for an energy crisis.
And a lot of doctors don't even believe in this, you know.
Well, let's see, what's the term for most physicians? And when it comes to fibromyalgia, clueless. They have no idea.
So if you were to mention the word to them, they would get a glazed over look?
Either glazed over, some go fibromyalgia, you know, and some of them will say, you know, there's no such thing, implying that you're crazy. And that's wonderful when they do that, because then you can say, thank you for letting me know up front that you're an utter idiot, so I don't waste my time in your office. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to tell somebody, I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's another thing to say, I don't know what's wrong with you, so you're crazy. That's abusive, and it's totally not acceptable.
That's right.
So
That's what they did to her when she had agoraphobia. They didn't even know what it was. But they put her through every test known to man. And
Said it was in my head.
then finally said,
Yeah.
it's your head.
yeah, if I don't know what's wrong with you, you're crazy. They used to do that with multiple sclerosis. They called it hysterical paralysis. Rheumatoid arthritis, they did the same thing. Lupus, they were doing the same thing. When I was in medical school, they just came up with a test called an LE prep, the early test. And millions of women went from being hysterical to having lupus like that because they had the test. And here, let me give you a little clue about part of where this comes from. All the illnesses I just mentioned are illnesses of the immune system, which affect women more than men. A woman has to be able to carry a baby without rejecting it. Your immune system can be different than a man's immune system. So just like some things affect men more, immune diseases affect women more. And if you look at the word hysterical, it comes from the medical word hystero, which means uterus.
Wow.
Gives you an idea of how old-time medicine thought about it. You know, hystero, uterus, woman equals crazy. And that still carries through today, even with half of doctors being women these days.
Wow. That's interesting.
But you don't have to put up with the nonsense.
Good.
So let's go ahead and tell people today, one, how they can tell if they got it,
This is your
Yes.
program, man.
Let's
and then
start
how to
there.
make it go away.
Yes.
So how do you tell if you have it? Very simple. If you have exhaustion that does not go away with rest and it persists more than 3 months, and especially if you have widespread pain, if you ache all over, it doesn't have to be the same place all the time. And in combination with the exhaustion, you can't get a good night's sleep. You have severe insomnia. That's a paradox. Exhausted, you should sleep all day and all night. But if you're exhausted and can't sleep, you've got this problem until proven otherwise, even if you have other conditions going on as well.
Okay.
That's in real life. Now, the diagnoses, the way that they set them up, some will exclude most everybody. Bottom line, if you fit that pattern, you've got this. And it's an energy crisis. You blew a fuse called the hypothalamus. That's the little control center of the brain. You know, when you open your circuit box, if you blew circuit number 7, it'll say, living room lights,
Yeah.
da, da, da. If you could open up the little circuit box for the head and you looked at hypothalamus, it would say it controls sleep, which is why you can't sleep even though you're exhausted. That's why it's such a good sign for this disease. It controls your entire hormone system. It controls temperature regulation, so 98.6 is a fever. And it controls what's called autonomic function, which is blood pressure, pulse, heart rate, sweating, and making sure the bowel function works, moving things in the right direction.
98.6 is a fever.
For this, most people are running 97s or low temperatures with this because
Interesting.
the temperature center's on that circuit. So it's all on that circuit. And that circuit's not damaged at all. It's just,
It can be repaired.
it's not damaged, it's just turned down. It's just like a circuit breaker that clicks. There's
Okay.
no damage to it. It just needs to be turned back on. So it's
Okay.
put in hibernation mode.
Okay, let's get turned on.
Okay, so to restore energy production, think of Shine, S-H-I-N-E. So if you have the disease, these symptoms, you know anybody with it, get a piece of paper and a pen, write it down. If you can't get a piece of paper, write it on your forearm, on the forehead of the person next to you. Write down Shine, S-H-I-N-E. S stands for sleep. Now people tell me, but I can't sleep 3 hours a night. You're a nice guy, but you're crazy. How are you telling me to get 8 hours sleep? We'll tell you how. H, hormonal support, even if the blood tests are normal. I, infections. N, nutritional support. And E, exercise as able. Now we'll start with the E, because some doctors just say, oh, well, just go out and exercise more. Well, they don't have the energy to condition. And unlike most people who will condition with exercise, people will overdo it with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. They will crash and burn and be bedridden the next day or two.
Wow.
So they need to listen to their body and do as much as they can, exercise as able. In 10 weeks on Shine, your energy level is going to skyrocket, and then you'll be able to condition and increase exercise. So listen to your body with it. Let's go to sleep. If you're talking about, since the sleep center is not working, you need to add things for sleep. Simple things, there's a sleep formula called the Revitalizing Sleep Formula. It's a mix of 6 herbs from enzymatic therapy. You can find it in every health food store, pretty much has it. Vitality101.com or nfatigue.com will have all of these. Easy to find. 2 to 4 a night. Most people with insomnia, this will leave them sleeping like a puppy. But for people with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, the insomnia is so severe you have to combine a number of things. So you start with this. You get melatonin, 1/2 milligram. You can use the smell of lavender, that helps sleep.
You buy that where?
Any health food store.
Yeah.
All these things I'm talking about available, most health food stores. You can get it at the nfatigue.com website or vitality101.com website.
And this would be a good place, if you go to that website that you're seeing on your screen right now, you see the discount HS, that's Herman Sharron, HS20, you will get 20% off during this telecast, okay? Now, if we rerun them, is that the same?
I told them to leave it up.
Perfect. You hear that, Linda?
So it'll be
If
up
we
for at least,
rerun them, the 20% still,
it'll be up for at least
Okay.
6 months, and if you redo the show, let me know and we'll put it back up.
okay.
All right, this and melatonin. Anything else?
Now, I will use medications here. Again, you know
Okay.
me, I'm not against medications, I'm just against the way they're used in this country, which is totally insane and nuts and irresponsible, I think. But there are some medications that are helpful. Trazodone, just 50 milligrams, just tiny dose. Flexeril, 3 milligrams. That's 1/10 the normal daily dose.
And health food store will all have these.
No,
No,
these
those
are
are
prescription here.
medications.
Okay.
These are prescription.
Okay.
So the book and the website will all have this. There's a host of medications. Most sleeping pills are not good in this disease, but there are a couple things that help sleep, that help keep the deep sleep you need. So by combining the natural things and these other treatments, virtually everybody can get the 8 hours sleep they need.
So if they go to a doctor for what you just mentioned, they won't do what?
Most doctors won't have a clue about it. So let me say where to find a doctor.
Yes.
There are centers all around the country called fibromyalgia and fatigue centers. And they're
You can go on
growing.
the web and find them?
Yep, you go to www.fibro, F-I-B-R-O, and A-N-D, fatigue, F-A-T-I-G-U-E.com. And you'll see 15 centers around the country now. In addition, I see people can come to Hawaii, or I do phone consultations. But I do a 4-hour consult. I do very in-depth. But if you have a center near you, go to one of the fibromyalgia and fatigue centers. And these doctors know how to use the SHINE protocol. Holistic doctors are more likely the standard doctors. Standard doctors, you're going to have a real unpleasant experience with going with this disease. So these are simple things. Now, the problem is that insurance will not pay for doctors to spend time. They'll pay for you to spend 6 minutes. But you can't do heart surgery in 6 minutes. You can't treat this disease in 6 minutes. So what do you do if you have no money? A lot of people out there are flat broke because they've been disabled for years.
Yes.
So here's a simple thing. If you go to the website, the endfatigue.com that they put on the screen, I actually have the U.S. patent for computerized physician, where I took my thought processes, put it in a computer program. It was about $500,000 in time and money to develop. It took 3 years, burnt out 3 programmers doing it.
Goodness gracious.
But we now have a computerized doctor at endfatigue.com. If you go to the home page, you'll see free symptom analysis program. It will analyze your symptoms. If you have the blood tests, it'll analyze the pertinent lab tests. It'll determine what's causing your CFS and fibromyalgia. Say, here are the probable underlying things causing your CFS and fibro. And then it will tailor a treatment protocol to your case. It'll say, here's what you need to do for sleep. Do you need to look for sleep apnea based on your symptoms, restless leg syndrome? It'll tell you, do you have what hormonal issues? Do you have thyroid or adrenal or others? And it will tailor a treatment protocol. Most of it can be done naturally. For each of the prescriptions, there are natural alternatives, so you can do them on your own. And if you're able to find a doctor to help you with the medications, it'll say these are the medications that are most likely to help and tell you how to dose them, what the side effects are to look for, what cautions there are, and lay it out exactly what to do. And we used to charge $400 for people to do that, but we told people if they couldn't afford that we'd let them do it for free. 80% of people wrote back and said, I'm flat broke. So we just made it free for everybody.
Okay. Now, how do they get there again? Just go through that again. How do they get to that site?
Go to endfatigue.com, and you'll see on the homepage there's a free symptom analysis program. Now, there's one you can pay for. Just do the free one. The one you can pay for makes a complete medical record of your case for your doctor. It will not change the treatment recommendations. I can't leave off what people need for them to do the other. So just do the free one. It'll give you all the information you need. For the doctors, they can do the other one because it saves them the time making the record. And it's going to lay it right out there. And it's going to say, here's what's causing it, here's what to do. And you don't be afraid when you get this big printout of stuff. You just look for the one page that says, here's what you got, and then the treatment checklist. We're going to be simplifying it down even further in a couple months when we put up our new site.
So how much did it cost to put all that together?
In time and money, about $500,000.
And you give it away?
It's fun.
He always says it's fun.
We were just talking about him this morning. About how you are so generous, but it comes back to you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. There's no sacrifice on my part. This is a labor of love. In treating people, my new patient visits are 4 hours. With 50 million people on the planet with this disease, you do the math. I only have 5 to 8 hours a week to treat people. I couldn't do it one-on-one.
Yeah,
and this is my way of using the internet, which can reach everybody.
Is fibromyalgia mentioned in here?
It's mentioned in here, but if you have chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia, this is a book you want to get.
Okay, take a look at that, right there.
Yeah.
It's a best-selling book for the last 15 years. We keep updating it. The next update will be next year, about a year and a half.
And
All right, so are you done with S now? Moving on?
Well, 2 other quickies for S.
Okay.
If you snore and stop breathing, if you snore and have high blood pressure, check for sleep apnea. That's in the book. And if your legs are kicking around all night, you're kicking your sheets or your bed partner around, that's restless leg syndrome. It's not a Requip deficiency. It is an iron deficiency. You check the ferritin blood level. That's the level to test for iron. Normal is over 12, which is absurd. It has to be over 60. You give the
60.
The ferritin level should be over 60. It's all in the book. And that is more effective than the medication. But the problem is, one, it can cure the disease in many cases, which is really bad for business. And two, it's dirt cheap. Iron's about a nickel as opposed to God knows what their equip costs. So your doctor's not going to hear about the iron to treat restless leg syndrome. So that's sleep.
Yeah.
Goodness. Okay, continue. Because
Hormonal.
this is information. Key into it. Write down the website. This is your opportunity. We got about 7 minutes left, and it's flying, isn't it?
It is.
And so key into this, and from time to time you can go to that website, and all of the ones I'm holding up, if you have TiVo or you can kind of freeze your screen and look at what I'm holding up. That's why I'm doing it, so that you can write the name down right there, because sometimes it's kind of hard to get it that quick, and obviously we can't spell it out and take that much time. So write it down for yourself, but get the books. I'm telling you, this one here isn't published yet, right?
It won't be in bookstores or Amazon till August, but it's available now on my website.
Okay, and so you can go to his website and get a hot off the press copy, but it's got everything in there. It's absolutely amazing. And then if you're on this subject we're talking about right now, bestseller right here, get your copy. This will tell you exactly what he's talking about, so that you can just slowly go through, check it off, and for yourself, as you say, turn the circuit back on.
Yep.
And that's great.
It'll turn the circuit back on. What the research showed, 91% of people, this is a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled study, 91% of people in the active treatment group improved with an average 90% increase in quality of life, where the placebo group did very poorly. So this is research proven. And again, fibromyalgia and fatigue centers, fibroandfatigue.com, find a doctor near you, get treated. Do the online symptom analysis program, and that'll give you the information as well. So let's go ahead and talk about H. And I'm going to do that briefly because we'll talk about hormones.
Go over, in
H
case
is
somebody,
hormones.
because people are grazing,
Yep.
and they just come back in. So go over the
Shine is what you treat: sleep, hormones, infection, nutrition, exercise. Let's talk about the H part. The blood test will miss most people who have hormonal deficiencies. Low thyroid, how do you tell? Tired, achy, weight gain, cold intolerant. How do you tell if you have low adrenal? Thyroid's your gas pedal. Adrenal is your stress handler. How do you tell low adrenal? If you get feed me now or I'll kill you episodes when you're hungry, that irritability when hungry. If you have a spouse and she's ripping your throat out and you don't know it yet, but you ask your kids, how do you handle mama? And they say, oh, just feed them when she's hungry, Dad. That's low adrenal. You want to find people low adrenal, go to the divorce lawyers' offices or marital counselors, and you'll see people. It's that irritability when hungry that stresses relationships. A nice simple treatment for adrenal is something
So
called.
when they eat, it actually helps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're dropping their blood sugar from low adrenal. Adrenal stress end will smooth that right out. And you can get that again in most health food stores.
So this could keep you from getting a divorce?
Yeah. Save you and the ones you love. So the adrenal stress end, really, really good. For the low thyroid support with iodine. The triiodine can be very helpful, but getting the actual thyroid hormone is the way to go. We'll talk about that more next show.
So iodine is very important to the diet?
For the thyroid, yeah.
Can you get that in food?
You can, but people aren't getting enough. We've lost half of our iodine intake in the last 30 years.
Goodness.
So, and we'll talk about bioidentical hormones next episode.
Okay.
Infections, there's dozens of infections. Whether you're looking at viral infections, bacterial, Lyme disease, host of infections can trigger it. But the most important infection to treat would be the candida or yeast overgrowth. So if you have nasal congestion, sinusitis, spastic colon, those are symptoms of candida overgrowth. There's no test that is worth doing. You simply treat it, and we'll treat it with probiotic pearls. If you're using a probiotic, this is the one to use, because the pearl coating keeps the probiotics alive past the stomach acid. There's antifungals, natural ones, and I'll use the medication diflucan for 6 weeks. And that knocks out the yeast, knocks out the sinusitis, knocks out the spastic colon, helps the chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and pain dramatically.
Okay, everybody wants instant relief, instant healing. I don't have to wait for this thing. Doing this procedure, what is the length of time before you will see results?
I tell people to give it 3 months to start seeing the effect. But for some things, there's a study, let's go to nutrition, the N. There's a study we recently finished, 257 CFS and fibromyalgia patients at 53 health clinics. By the end of 3 weeks, just on the ribose, the Corvalin, energy improved an average of 61%.
Wow.
At 3 weeks. So for nutrition, get the Corvalin, which is ribose. Again, you can find that on our website. That's good for anybody who wants energy.
I can't straighten it up. Sorry about that.
So Corvalin, it's 1 scoop 3 times a day. And then take the vitamin powder, which is, to me, the best multivitamin in the world.
This is one of your favorite, isn't it?
Yeah, you take.
I might add, you folks that are watching, the doctor does this trick every day, right? This is his starter.
I do the vitamin powder and a scoop of ribose each morning, and if you saw my schedule, it would make your head spin.
I bet.
But it gives me energy, keeps my energy flying high all day. And it's healthy energy as opposed to loan shark energy like you get from energy drinks.
Yeah.
I'm glad you live in Hawaii because you can keep your wonderful gift just continuing. When you, I know what it feels like just to land in Hawaii. It's like all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm here.
I still want the guys to come.
That's right. That's the reason I had the music for you as we open, you know, so that you can just get homesick. Are you heading there after these?
Tomorrow morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Oops, I head out to the airport and back home. I do a talk tonight.
Goodness.
That's amazing.
Well, now when we come back on part 2, we're going to open with what?
I'm going to teach people how to get, your car gets a tune-up at 50,000 miles. When you hit 50, everybody should get a tune-up. We're going to teach you how to do that.
How about 73?
That's a little 23 years
start
later.
Start digging the grave?
But nope, start going, go get your tune-up. You'll feel like you're 50 going on 49, and then you'll just keep going down to 48, 47,
Well, he hasn't
46.
finished Shine, though, yet. He's
No,
got
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed the end.
There's
Where
no-
were
You're going to
I?
have to watch the video.
But you do the online program.
Okay.
People can do it themselves. Go to the Fibromyalgia and Fatigue Centers, or people can come see me. I'm doing consultations.
And
read
right
the
here,
book.
I'm telling you, your information, and it's readable. I mean, you've got more of a brain than you should have, but you put it down. You put it down so that we can read it.
If it can't be said in
Then you
English, you
should
don't
have.
understand it.
That's right.
More of a brain than you should have.
That's right.
Sorry, doctor.
Well, that's why
He's maxed out in that area. But remember, Jesus Christ is the answer to every need you may have. You know how you find out about Him? Open the Word of God. Spend time in the most important book you will read today. At least 10 minutes. It's life-changing. It'll change the direction you're going today and make you alive again. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Invited to tune in each week to The Good Life, hosted by CTN founder and president Bob and Jane DeAndre. This program features inspirational and informative interviews, anointed music, and special reports. Don't miss The Good Life, Friday nights at 9 p.m. and Monday mornings at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, here on the Christian Television Network.
God bless you indeed, and shalom, beloved ones. Join me as we go on a journey together, discovering how the writings in the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament connect.
I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna live my life for Yeshua.
Please welcome our very special guest.
You never know who's going to be on The Jim Bakker Show.
Only you
Join Jim and Lori Baker every day as they welcome anointed teachers.
I was almost desperate to get back here.
Creative innovators.
Everything that comes through his mind is from God.
And the most dynamic personalities from around the Christian world.
You're an inspiration for people. This is an incredible place.
Watch now as I take you down a road that is less traveled in the field